Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. This week we're going to start with another new to us book, and actually I think this was a new book last year called Son of a Southern Chef, Cook with Soul. So this is Lazarus Lynch's book. He has I think they said it was the first Snapchat cooking show. He started cooking himself, well, when he was a child. I think his father had a restaurant and was from Alabama, and he was sort of the cook in the family. His mother was from Guyana, and so he has both of those influences in his food. And I think he started his Snapchat cooking show when he was in college, like cooking in the dorm. He's been on Chopped and won a couple of different Chopped episodes. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this book. It's, soul food, a little African influence, and let's get cooking. So we decided today we are going to be making his oven fried sticky garlic Henny wings. I knew we had some Hennessy. My family loves wings. So this was a great recipe for us. I know we're gonna like this. We'll have to taste the sauce, and if it's at all spicy, I might put a different sauce on some of them for the kids. But I know my husband and I are gonna like this. But we just need to get started right now because our chicken wings have to sit for at least 2 hours, up to overnight. But all we're gonna put on them right now is some salt. I've got them in a Ziploc bag, as you can see. You can also just put them in a bowl and cover them with plastic wrap, or in a plastic container with a lid. This is what I decided to go with. And then we're going to add some baking powder. One of the things I like about this book is in the beginning he tells you what salt he generally uses and what salt level these recipes are calibrated for. So he said he uses Morton's kosher salt. I tend to use Diamond Crystal. I'm out right now. I need to remember to order some more because my regular grocery store doesn't carry it. Anyway, which is a little bit saltier by volume than the salt that I use. So I might need to add a little bit more salt. We'll see. And then I add some of the grated garlic in the recipe. He did ask for this to be grated, so I just used my microplane and grated it. The rest is gonna go in the sauce. I don't know how that's gonna work with it being, like, it's gonna be in the refrigerator for a few hours. Anyway, so we're just going to massage this around to get all of those things covering all of this chicken, so that they all get a little bit of it. So if you're using a bowl, just toss it around with your tongs, whatever, mix it around, get it all on everything. And then this goes in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. You can leave it in up to overnight. Since we were gonna have ours this evening, I didn't want it in there for like a full, almost 24 hours. So I went ahead and did it. It's about noon. So, we'll be eating at about probably a little after 5 or so. But that's all we need to do right now. So we're gonna go put this in the refrigerator and we'll be back in a few hours. My chicken wings have been in the refrigerator in the bag for about 4 hours now, maybe a little bit more. Plenty of time. And so what I'm gonna do is put them on this pan. I have a baking sheet covered with foil and then a rack on top of it. So I'm going to spread those out on this rack. I'm gonna put them sort of pretty side down currently, just because I know that we are going to be turning them over after a little while, and I always like to end with the pretty side up just in case it sticks. Hopefully it won't stick in the first 20 minutes or so. And I like to make the drumettes go different ways because I'm just like that. I don't know. So my oven is preheated to 450 degrees, non-convection. You could use convection if you like. They would end up taking a little bit less time probably, but yes. There's some really big wings and some much smaller wings. That's an interesting take here. But I'm just gonna do it like he says. I do have a convection oven, but I'm gonna do it non-convection, 450, 20 minutes, and then we're gonna turn them over. So I'll let you see what they look like when that happens. And then we're gonna move over to the stove and make the sauce. So I'm starting my sauce, and I have a saucepan. So he changes from saucepan to skillet in this recipe in the instructions. So I chose a sort of a thinner, wider saucepan just because I know we're going to have to thicken this sauce, and that will help it thicken a little bit more rapidly. But I've got some butter melting over medium-high heat, and that is almost melted. And now that it is melted, I'm going to add the rest of the garlic that was grated earlier. And we're going to just saute this, cook it until it's kind of lightly golden. You don't want to burn it. It would be really easy to burn this garlic, especially because it is grated. So it's got really small pieces. Kind of hard to tell, but I think it's lightly golden. It says take it off the heat. So I'm just going to turn my heat off because my heat goes down pretty quickly in this, and I just want to make sure that it is kind of, yeah, I think we're good. Yep, definitely golden. And now we're going to add some honey. That's going to be the sweetness in this recipe. And again, I really love these plunger style measuring cups for thick things like honey. And I have some Hennessy, the cognac that he calls for in the recipe. If you can't find it, if you can't find it, I'm sure any cognac will work just fine, but we happen to have it. And then the rest of the salt in the recipe, I actually added a little bit more just because I know that my salt is less salty than the stuff that he uses, and some crushed red pepper flakes. Yes, that's what he calls them. Chili flakes, crushed red pepper flakes, pretty much same thing here. And that's gonna go into the sauce. And that's it for the sauce, but we're going to turn it back onto medium heat, and we're going to cook it and whisk it occasionally until it is thickened. I assume what we're going for here is a sort of a warm barbecue sauce sort of texture. We don't want it super thin because we want it to stick to our wings, and we want to cook out some of the alcohol in the Hennessy. So he says it should take about 5 minutes. We'll see. My sauce has been boiling for about 9 minutes now. I don't know that it is thick enough. It is certainly bubbly. I don't know. Hard to say. It's definitely longer than he says, and you can see that when I drag my spatula through it, I get a little bit of a trail where you can see the bottom of the pot. I'm gonna let it go for a little bit longer, but it's time to turn over our wings. Now, he said to set up your oven with a middle rack and the upper third rack. For me, I think that's my highest rack. And at this point, you're supposed to turn over your wing pieces and rotate the baking sheet, rotate the pan. And I'm not sure if he really means to just turn it around or to put it on the top rack and turn it around. Maybe both, I don't know. I'm gonna put mine on the top rack. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's what I am going to do because I think we'll get a little bit better browning maybe if it's closer to the element on top. I don't know, we'll see. But I have turned everything over and now I'm gonna put it in on the top rack for 40 to 45 minutes until they're nicely browned, very crisp and golden brown. So, a little more time here. Now this is really, really bubbly and I think it's probably thickened probably enough. Usually this means it's getting, sugar gets to sort of caramelizing. You know, that's what happens when it's just sugar. I'm gonna call this good and I'm gonna turn it down to just low on my stove, which will keep it warm so it will toss with the wings very well. But it won't, it probably won't thicken anymore or really cook anymore. So I think this part is done and now all we have to do is wait for our wings. So our chicken wings were done almost exactly at 40 minutes. They look super brown and delicious and they're not too sticky. So what I'm gonna do is toss about half of them with my sauce, basically just in case my children end up not liking the sauce. It's got, I tasted it, it's got a little bit of heat on the back side, sort of in the back of your throat. So I think that's about half. So it's just a little bit of heat, but not too much. But I think we're gonna test it first before we toss them all. So I've got my wings in a bowl. I'm gonna add some of our sauce here. Now this is a very thin sauce, but that's not unusual for a wing sauce. If you've never made wings before, they often have sort of a thin sauce, and you don't cook it afterwards. You just cook the wings and then toss them in sauce, and then they're done. So there we go. We have our wings and our sauce. And it's done and ready to eat. And these are gonna be super hot right now because they just came out of the oven. But I am so looking forward to tasting them and I will let you know what everybody thinks. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make Lazarus Lynch's oven-fried sticky garlic Henny wings from his book, Son of a Southern Chef, Cook with Soul. I have to say, I love this method. I have tried a similar method before, mostly where you have put the baking powder on the chicken wings and then let them dry out overnight in the refrigerator. That's kind of a pain. It's always hard to find a place to put a flat baking sheet in my refrigerator, just because we always keep our refrigerator full of stuff. Anyway, so this one where you didn't have to sort of dry it out, that worked really well. Even without the sauce, you could taste the garlic, so that's great. You could do the method without the garlic, obviously, if that's not a flavor that you want on your chicken. Could use this with any sauce, but I really liked the fact that they were done at the time when he said they should be, and they were very crispy. The skin was crispy, the skin was brown, it was beautiful. Loved that. I've tried it before, and I've always had a hard time getting the chicken done to a point where I thought it was crispy and beautiful and brown at the same time that the chef told me that it should be. And so this worked great. The sauce I really liked. My husband didn't. There was some flavor about it that he didn't love. Probably the Hennessy, the reduced Hennessy flavor. Who knows? He likes it fine in drinks. And the kids thought it was a little bit spicy. So I really like the method. I will definitely use it again. I will be using the sauce, but I'll probably trade out other sauces. And honestly, for dinner, instead of just an appetizer, the amount of chicken that this calls for is probably just enough to feed our family for dinner. And we have relatively small appetites. So I will, if I'm gonna have guests or if I want, to have leftovers, I'll probably double the recipe, but make 2 trays, right? So anyway, if you enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, come back and watch me make something else next week. Thanks for watching.